You know that the African Union decided on an approach to resolve the Libyan conflict. Once it transformed itself into a civil war, the African Union met, assessed this matter, and decided on ways and means by which to resolve this conflict peacefully. And indeed said that what needed to happen in Libya was that the voice of the people should be respected, that the process of democratization of Libya should take place, but that we should get to those outcomes by peaceful means. Now, this policy was adopted by the African Union, discussed with Gaddafi, to say that this is what the African Union is saying, and we expect the Libyan government to cooperate with the African Union in terms of the implementation of that policy. And indeed, Gaddafi agreed. The Libyan government agreed to that. But a week later, the Security Council met and took its own decisions. The Security Council was perfectly aware of the decisions that the African Union had taken, and indeed, in its own resolution on Libya, it recognized formally in the resolution the decisions that the African Union had taken, but decided to ignore them. And hence these decisions about no-fly zone and so on. So, no, I don't think the African Union had any capacity to stop the Security Council from that. It had done what needed to be done to communicate to the Security Council to say Libya is an African country, it's a member state of the African Union, and we as the African Union have met and we've taken these decisions, and the Libyan government is willing to cooperate, to negotiate a ceasefire, and to negotiate all of these other measures that would lead to the democratization of the country. But the Security Council decided to ignore that and took its own line, which hasn't helped. Because indeed, I don't think any amount of force is going to resolve the conflict in Libya. It's clear that when NATO and these other countries decided that they were going to use force, essentially, they started off by saying that this was to enforce a no-fly zone, but it's quite clear that in reality, they are pursuing a regime change agenda. And indeed, many of these countries, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and so on, didn't hide this. Right from the beginning, they said Gaddafi must go. That's regime change. So I'm saying that it must be clear to them by now that whereas they might have assumed that Gaddafi has no social base, has no support within the country, is isolated and so on, and that he could be removed very easily, that they were wrong. That Gaddafi represents a substantial part of the Libyan population, and that what you need to do is to create the space for the Libyans to decide what to do about themselves and about their country. What one of the great tragedies of the situation, apart from the people who are dying in Libya, infrastructure that is being destroyed and so on, worsening of the tensions among the Libyans. One of the tragedies of this is that you have countries in the world that decided that they have every right to decide what happens to an African country, regardless of what the African Union says. But it's not going to solve any problem. In the end, we must come back to the issue of a peaceful resolution of the conflict in Libya, which must mean creating the space for the Libyans to meet among themselves and decide what they do about their destiny.